Hello, everyone. I'm Florida Today engagement editor John A. Torres, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 2022 elections. We are proud to present these candidate forums in partnership with the League of Women Voters of the Space Coast, and our goal here today is quite simple. It's to inform you, the public, before you cast your vote at the August 23rd primary. Now, it's my pleasure today to introduce the candidates for School Board District 2, seat previously held by Cheryl McDougall. It's an interesting race with no incumbents. Joining us today are Erin Dunne and Shawn Overdorf. There are two other names on the ballot who we invited to take part, but they declined. We're going to give each of you 1 minute to make opening remarks about your background, qualifications, and why you want to serve on the school board. We're going to start with Erin, and then we'll alternate. So go ahead, Erin. Why do you want to serve on the school board, and what are your qualifications? Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Erin Dunne. I have been a public school educator in Florida for 13 years. 11 of those years I've served here in Brevard Public Schools. Throughout my years as a teacher, I have worked with thousands of families in Brevard County, and I have experience with not only so many colleagues throughout the district, but with many people at the district offices as well. I decided to jump in to make sure that we are making smart, fact-based decisions on behalf of our students in this county. I am standing up to make sure that we are focused on improving literacy in our students by putting books into the hands of our kids, that we're making smart decisions based on research about keeping our students safe in our schools, and that we're supporting teachers in the classrooms by giving them the autonomy to reach our kids and teach our children in the best way they know how, and partnering with our families in order for that to be a possibility, and let our students achieve the most success that they can in our schools.
Great, and welcome. Thank you. Shawn, over to you.
I'm a little bit about me. I'm a Desert Storm combat vet, retired police officer. I spent 23 years as a police officer. The last 13 years I spent as a school resource officer, working with several parents, students, school administrators, teachers. My number one goal was to make sure that all the children in Brevard County are safe. I spent the last 13 years assessing 22 school buildings in the district I worked at. We made sure that they were above and beyond state standards. I worked with federal agencies, state agencies, and we did. We made our schools as safe as we could possibly make them. A lot of neighboring school districts copied what we did. And that's my number one goal. Second, fiscally, this district needs to be fiscally responsible, and they're currently not. I mean, our teachers we're losing teachers like almost 1,000 this year alone. That's crazy. And we got over $1 billion budget. Yeah, it needs fixed.
Great, Shawn. Thank you. And you've actually set up a few of my questions quite nicely. So we're going to start with you for this first question, which was actually my second question, but I'm going to change things around because of your comments. We are all horrified by what seems to be the annual school shooting in this country. As a school board member and not as a school resource officer, what can you do to ensure that our children are safe? And should teachers be armed?
Part two to that, absolutely. If a teacher has any kind of military training, any kind of law enforcement training, I 100% support those teachers being armed. Because listen, I just can't put a gun in the hand of any teacher. The military, police, they're learned weapon retention, how to do close quarter combat. The first part of that question is, if I get elected to the school board, I'm going to personally assess every single school in this district. I mean, within probably 6 months, I should have every school done. I'm going to work with local law enforcement, the SRO, school safety, and we're going to do what I did the district I worked at. We're going to assess every single school.
Great. Erin, the same question. What would you do as a school board member, or what can you do as a school board member to ensure our children are safe, and should the teachers be armed?
Absolutely. So, I'm a parent of a student in Brevard Public Schools. My son is a 10-year-old. So the safety of our children and making sure that my child and all of our children come home safe at the end of the day is absolutely what I'm focused on. I will start with this. I believe our school district has done many things over the last few years, especially since the Parkland shooting in South Florida. like single entry points, like securing our buildings, like tying in our cameras to the district as well as local law enforcement. I also support our school resource officers on campus, but I do not support arming teachers. And the reason for this is because research shows that it does not make our students and our teachers safer. The National School Resource Association has spoken out against arming teachers. More weapons on campus is not a safe decision to keep our students safer.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now we're going to go back to my original question one, and we're going to start with you, Erin. Schools seem to be on the front line now of the culture wars. How would you, as a school board member, navigate that?
Sure, great question. So you're correct. And I think that the biggest issue here is that we need to make sure that our focus is on the real issues that our students are facing day to day and the real issues our teachers are dealing with. Are there some cultural war issues that pertain to our schools? Absolutely. But there are also many that are full of misinformation and many that are taking away from focusing on the real issues, like literacy, like the fact that so many of our third grade students are behind in reading skills, like the fact that we have serious mental health concerns with students in our schools, like the fact that our teachers aren't paid enough. And so as a school board member, I don't have time to be focused on issues that are not real or issues that are taking away from the true challenges that our school district is facing. So my goal is to focus, like I said, on the real issues that our teachers and students and our families are dealing with every day.
Okay, great. Shawn, the same question.
Yeah, the cultural issue. I mean, the teachers got to be able to teach. They shouldn't have to be worried about, being politically correct or saying this or saying that. I mean, every teacher I've talked to, they don't want to get involved in all the stuff that's going on right now. They just want to do their job, which the whole culture thing is crazy. I'm kind of just for letting the teachers teach, getting rid of any of this cultural war business. It doesn't need to be in our schools.
Great. And we're going to stick with you, Shawn, for this next question. And you sort of hit a little bit on this in your opening comments. There's been a lot of talk in recent years, obviously, about raising the teacher salaries in order to retain and attract the educators that our children here deserve. How important is this issue, and what can be done to raise teacher pay, and if you are indeed in favor of that?
Well, I'm absolutely in favor of raising teachers' pay. The district I worked at, when I retired, they hired me back as a deputy sheriff as an investigator. So I went through their finances. In 6 months, I recovered $1.5 million in fraudulent funding. I mean, I spent 5 years as a detective on the police department I worked at. So as a school board member, I'm going to go through the books. I'm going to find out where money's being spent, where it's being wasted, and 100% our teachers need a pay raise.
Okay, Erin, the same question.
Yeah, of course, I absolutely agree that our teachers need a pay raise. I think we have multiple issues right now. The biggest issue as far as teacher pay is wage compression, right? Because the state of Florida allocated funding in order to raise salaries for beginning teachers, but so many of our experienced and valuable educators were left behind. When teachers of 10 or 20 years are making a comparable salary to teachers right out of college, we have a huge problem. And of course, that's leading to retention issues and the lack of support for our educators. So yes, I do support teacher salaries. I believe that transparency in our budget for our school district is vital, because if there's any money being misspent, we have to find it and allocate it wherever we can. But I will say that the state of Florida mandates where the majority of the money they send us is spent. And so we also have to address the fact that the funding for school districts from the state of Florida is not acceptable. And I am willing to lobby in Tallahassee. I'm actually planning to, as a school board member, and partner with the other districts in order to address this and lobby for additional funding from the state for our schools.
Okay, terrific. We're going to stay with you, Erin, for this for this next question, which is a hot button issue this last year or so, it seems. We're talking about a raising interest in banning books out of school libraries. What are your thoughts about that, and how would you handle the increase in requests for book bans?
Sure. I know that the district has created a committee to address book bans, or to address, I should say, requests to review books. And I agree with that policy. I think having a team of educators and parents to look at books is a great way to involve our families in our schools, and also have them partner with our educators. I think it's really important that when they do so, they're looking at the state statute and what it says about what's appropriate in our schools and what it's not. I think that, again, as a school board member, my focus is on putting books into the hands of our students. We know that students who have a text-rich environment, a literacy-rich environment, whether it's at home as in their early childhood or in their elementary schools, we want to make sure that we are focused on putting books into the hands of kids, of course, that they're age appropriate, but my focus will be on that and not about pulling books in our libraries. We have to focus on making sure we keep diverse books that teach our children facts in our school libraries.
Great. Okay, Shawn, the same question. Book ban or request for book banning?
Yeah, I also support putting a group together of parents, school members. We should have a committee that reviews the books. Do I feel pornographic material belongs in a school? Absolutely not. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And then I agree with DeSantis. Grades K through 3, there shouldn't be any of that in the school.
Which is a great segue to my next question. So, thank you again, Shawn. And we're going to start with you. How would you advise, as a school board member, how would you advise teachers who find themselves trying to navigate these new rules about talking to students? And to be clear, I'm not talking about lessons, per se, but maybe students that seek out a trusted teacher and want to talk about a sensitive topic, whether it's about race, inequality, gender, sexuality. How would you advise teachers what to do?
The parents that I've talked to, the teachers I've talked to, they don't want to get into that conversation with any of the students. And what I recommend is they say, you know what, that's a conversation you need to have with your parents. It's that simple.
Okay, Erin, same question.
Sure. So my experiences as a teacher have led me to understand the fact that many times students reach out to teachers because they don't have a trusted adult outside of school. And if they do, that's absolutely fantastic. And I hope that my son would come to me first with his any major issues he was having. But at the same time, many students reach out to teachers for reasons not even related to what you said. My fear is that teachers now, with this new legislation, will be hesitant to engage in any kind of personal conversation with a student. And we know that developing relationships between teachers and students, where students can be honest about mental health issues that they're having or problems at home, is vitally important. I have had to make the DCF phone calls, Department of Children and Families, when students have reached out to me about inappropriate things happening at home. And the idea that a teacher might not be willing to engage because they're scared of backlash, and that a child will not have that safe adult at school that they need to talk to, I think is very dangerous.
We're going to stay in the same, ballpark here, Erin. Are there any topics that should be off limits in schools?
It's a good question. I would say that we should be speaking to our students, our teaching, of course, about age appropriate topics. I think that more so than selecting one topic, because probably if I sat here for a while, I could come up with hundreds, that I don't think we should teach to kindergartners, things like that. I think that the flip side of that is we should trust our teachers and our school staff to know what is appropriate and to do the right thing when it comes to our students. And I would say that 99% of the time, that's what happens, right? I also think as parents, if we think for any reason that something is being discussed that is inappropriate at school, that we have the right to speak to those teachers and our school administrators and even bring it to the district if we think that there's something inappropriate. But I don't know that just selecting one topic out of the entire world is I don't think it should be that specific, and I do think it depends on the grade level of the student. I
gotcha. Okay, Shawn, any topics for you that should just be off limits at school?
This is where common sense comes in. If a teacher feels that they're going to, give some bad advice or maybe something that's not right, this is where I feel the school should have mental health counselors in every school. I 100% support that. If they're having problems at home, like abuse, anything like that, that should be their go-to. The teacher should be like, you know what, we're going to get you in contact with our mental health counselor. I 100% support mental health counselors. We used them where I was at, and they're just a great tool to have.
I feel like Shawn has had a peek at my questions, although he hasn't, obviously, because my very next question, and I am going to start with Shawn here, is the students, and I have students in our schools as well, have been through a hellish 2 years, as we all have. How important is mental health for the students, and what can be done other than what you said, Shawn, to ensure good mental health for the students?
Like I said, the mental health counselor is huge. We use them where I was at. For example, we had students that were posting pictures of guns and bullets and stuff. That was the first person we went to. And then obviously, if they thought it was something serious, they would call me, call the principals in, and we did some psych evals on some students, which actually I think prevented some possible school shootings. I mean, that's how important they are.
Erin?
Sure. I know that there has been a huge increase in our social workers in our schools, or at least social work positions, over the last few years. The larger issue is that we do not have people in all those positions, in our guidance counselor positions, in our school psychologist positions, and in our social worker positions. And one of the issues there is that we're not paying enough, just like for teachers. And again, that goes back to the money we're receiving from the state, that goes back to our district budget. So do I support all of that? Absolutely. I actually would support additional social workers and mental health counselors in our schools. I think that it's a big deal that we give our teachers the autonomy to, build relationships with our students and build a classroom community that feels like a family. Because when kids feel, accepted in their classroom, when they feel like they're a part of something special, then they have the opportunity to open up and connect to their classmates, connect to their teachers. And that's when our teachers can say, hey, does this student need another trusted adult like a social worker or a mental health counselor to connect to? And the more we can have those people in our schools to support our students and our teachers, the better off I think everyone is.
Great. Thank you, Erin. And we're going to stay with you on this next question here. How do you think Brevard Public Schools is doing right now in terms of involvement from parents and influence, and how would you navigate that? And is there anything in either a direction that you would draw the line at as far as parental involvement?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, as a parent of a 10-year-old in Brevard Public Schools, I am a very active parent. This past year I was in volunteering at the book fair, and I was in Orlando for a couple days chaperoning a future problem solvers field trip around spring break. I think there are so many ways that our parents can get involved in our schools. And we know that the number one indicator of student success is actually parental involvement. So I am absolutely a supporter of parents being involved. As a music teacher in Brevard Public Schools, I would have after school anywhere from 10 to 16, volunteer teachers and parents who were there to support my rehearsals with my students and teaching choreography and all sorts of things. So I know when parents are engaged, that opens up our teachers to do so many more things for our students. Should there be a line somewhere? Absolutely. I think that we need to make sure that our teachers are the trusted experts in our classrooms. And I think that parents should come in to support the classrooms as much as possible. And again, if they have any concerns, they're welcome to go to our teachers and our administration. And I think by working together, that's where we have success.
Right. Just a quick side note, Erin, I'm still Facebook friends with my 4th grade through 8th grade music teacher, where I played French horn in the Bronx. So there you go.
So good.
Shawn, same question about parental involvement, influence. How would you navigate that? Is there anything that you would draw the line at?
No. As a parent, I have 2 daughters that attend Brevard Public Schools. I volunteered, I coach. I've been coaching the Cocoa Beach girls basketball team all summer. In the fall, we play AAU basketball. I think parents should be involved. I think the school should open up, the gyms after school for more sports. I mean, and I would like to see the parents step up, help facilitate that role, especially for the students that don't have that father-mother figure. I mean, that's kind of why I started this 8 years ago, coaching inner city girls basketball, and I try to be a mentor for all these girls, who didn't have that solid home life that I have. And I think I've helped a lot of children. I've done a lot of volunteer badges for baseball after school. I try to help as many kids as I can. And I heard a story that they wouldn't allow a parent to come in to have lunch with their child in the school district here. Like that's crazy. Like a parent should be able to come and visit their children.
Shawn, I have to say that you're a brave man for wanting to coach AAU sports as a parent of a son that played AAU, baseball, and daughters that played soccer competitively.
Oh yeah.
The parents are really a bear when it comes to that. Anyway, we're going to stay with you, Shawn, on this one. A lot has been said about public comments at school board meetings. How would you address this issue?
First off, 1 minute, most people can't even get out what they want to say. They need to move that back up to 3 minutes. And for exceptions, let them talk longer. Parents need to be heard. Right now, parents are feeling they can't be heard. So yeah, if I get on the board, we're changing that. Like, I want to hear from the parents. Matter of fact, they can have my email, my cell phone number. They can call me. If they have a situation that needs to be addressed, I want to be able to address that.
Same question, Erin.
Sure. As a parent, I've spoken at a number of school board meetings in Brevard County. I personally didn't have an issue with the speaking policy. I think because on behalf of my son, the ways that I usually felt like I needed to communicate with the school district were through my student's teacher and my student's principal. But I will say that listening to some others speak about the public comment policy at the school board meetings, I'm not opposed to increasing the time back to where it used to be, because I understand that maybe other parents feel that that is how their voice is best heard. So I am in favor of that.
Great. And we're going to stay with you, Erin. What is your biggest concern that you would want to work on if you were voted to the school board?
Sure. Good question. When I have been at school board meetings, I look at the goal of the school district that's behind the school board members, serving every student with excellence as the standard. And I think that excellence, in order to serve our students, we have to start with having teachers in the classrooms who are highly qualified and highly engaged with our students. And so retaining quality teachers is vitally important. Those quality teachers can help our students achieve. They can build relationships in the classroom, and they can also build relationships with families. So our families are best served, our students are best served when we have those teachers in the classroom who can make school the best possible environment and help our students achieve the most that they possibly can. So that's where I would start.
Great. Shawn, same question. Your biggest concern if you were voted in to the school board?
It's got to be school safety. I mean, my number one priority is protecting every child in this county. It's how, when I first decided to run, that was my platform. It's still my platform to this day. I've assessed, just did a walkthrough on a couple school buildings. They're not where they need to be. They're pretty good, but I can make them a whole lot better.
Great. And you guys are almost off of the hot seat here. Have one more question before we get to the final comments, but so we're going to start with Shawn. Can you provide us, we all want officials that will also listen, that are firm in their beliefs, but that will listen. Can you provide us with an example of when you changed your mind about something after learning more about it, or when you went out of your way to hear an opposing viewpoint and it impacted your thinking?
Sure. Like, I went to the school board. I told them I'm not opposed to the millage. I asked them to table it. When speaking with some of the commissioners, there's money they found. The reason they want this millage off, the school has money. So obviously, I've changed my mind on that. Once you do a little research, right now I'm against the millage. Before, like I said, I was for it. I think the teachers need to get paid better. But if there's money that the school has that they found, use that money first. Don't go to the taxpayers.
Great. Erin, the same question.
Sure. I would actually go back to what I said earlier about the school board speaking policy, because that's actually something that changed for me recently. Like I said, my personal experience was that, to me as a parent, it wasn't such a big concern, but it was through conversations with others, actually from a variety of groups, that I realized, if it is important to them, if that helps them feel like their voice is being heard, then that's a very easy thing to do to ensure that everybody feels like part of the conversation. So I think probably lately that's a topic that I've changed my mind on, and am happy to do so. I think probably one of my strengths, to be honest with you, is that when I'm making tough decisions, I like to have input from as many people as possible. And I think that'll be a strength of mine as a school board member.
Great, thank you. Now we're just up to the final comments. So you each get 1 minute, up to 1 minute to just tell us why we should vote for you. So we're going to start with Shawn, because I think we started with Erin at the beginning of this, right? Yeah. So we'll go to Shawn right now. Why should we vote for you, Shawn?
As I stated before, my number one priority here is to protect your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews. I'm just asking for that opportunity. I believe I'm the most experienced in that department. I've never had a financial problem in my life. I'm going to scrutinize the finances of this school board, and I'm an outsider. I'm not an insider. This school board has been full of teachers and people from the county for years, and look where it's gotten us. I'm an outsider. I'm not an insider. I'm not a politician. I'm here to set things straight, and they need a leader, and I'm the guy that can do that. I can lead this board through this financial struggle right now. Thank you.
Great. Erin, why should we vote for you?
Absolutely. So I am the most qualified because I am the one who has been working here in Brevard Public Schools for the longest period of time. And that is very important. I have a bachelor's degree in education. I know what it's like to teach in a classroom. Not only that, my colleagues voted me as Teacher of the Year at Atlantis Elementary School up in Port St. John. So my ability to work with others, especially to reach across the aisle, I think is absolutely valuable, because we have to come together on behalf of our students. We will have tough decisions coming up. We also have to be able to advocate and say public schools deserve more in the state of Florida. And I feel like my opponents are not willing to do that. I think they're trying to solve problems within Brevard Public Schools, which is incredibly important. But we also have to be willing to say that our state owes more to our students and that we expect them to step up and serve our children with excellence as we do here. I know our schools. I have relationships with thousands of families who have already brought their concerns to me, and I am ready to step up and be the next school board member for District 2.
All righty, well, you guys are off the hot seat. You made it through. Thank you so much. We have school board candidates here, Erin Dunne and Shawn Overdorf for School Board District 2. And once again, we'd like to thank our partners, the League of Women Voters of the Space Coast, and our friends over at Eastern Florida State College. For Florida Today, I'm engagement editor John A. Torres, saying thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.